Alright, what's up guys, Zero here, and today we are here to take a look at post-nerf Luard. Technically not a nerf, it's just the introduction of buffs to harmonics and the heal guards makes it so you can't play the zero damage version of the deck, which was, in my opinion, far superior to just the regular version of the deck. Because of those buffs to the other cards, the zero damage version of this deck basically got nerfed to the point where every deck has an out to it, so I no longer think that version of the deck is playable. So now we are looking at a more standard version of Luard that just actually plays the game, actually deals damage. So without further ado, let's take a look at the list. And you will see it is not that different from the zero damage version of the list. So I guess we'll go over all the cards anyways, in case you don't know what any of them do. So first off, the starter is still this dude. I don't know his name. I still don't know his name. His skill is GB1 with units retired for cost. Put it into soul to give 1 units +5 and his anti-retire. Again, the important thing here is that it's anti-retire because in retire matchups you want something to sack off for Luard strat bonus. This has anti-retire, meaning they cannot retire it. Therefore, you will have something to sack off at least one turn for Luard strat bonus. So I do think just because this card has anti-retire, it is your best starter to play for this deck. Although I do think this card basically reads 5k vanilla for the majority of the game. So power game comes up every once in a while, but for the majority of the time, this is just the anti-retire starter. PG, we're playing the Ezraz, the Ritual PG, Drop Zone, GB1, Ritual 3, put another copy of yourself back to the bottom of your deck, and retire one of your rears to add yourself from drop zone back to hand. So basically you need 2 of her in the drop zone, you retire one of your rears, put the other copy of yourself back to the bottom of the deck, and then she goes back to your hand. So that's a recurring PG. Just note that this PG does bind itself when it's used, so you can't infinitely recycle her, unfortunately. So, but this card is still really good. Because Ogma, in my opinion, is still your power play for the deck, I do think this PG is far superior to the CC PG because you can actually slam copies of this card down onto the board to sack up for cost and still get a PG back. So, as because of that, I do think this is the better PG to play over the CC PG. I don't think the CC PG is the CC from that PG offers much of anything to this deck. I don't think the extra CP matters. I don't think the recyclability of the PG matters because by the time you recycle a PG and dig back to it, you probably are already dead or you just can't dig deep enough for it. So because of that, I don't think the CCP is worth playing at all. Next up, we got the Grade 1 Owl. This is your Luard Searcher on play from hand. Discard a card, search your deck for a Luard. And Ritual 3, if this card is retired for cost and from your Vanguard Luard's effect, CC1 hard ones return. So even if you stack out multiples of this, you can only CC once. So this card is your main CC. It searches for Luard. No reason not to play forfeit. Very, very good. Next up, 3 Sword Breakers. When called from decks, will blast 1, draw 1. This deck calls Great Ones from decks very, very easily. Sword Breaker, I think, is a no-brainer. It lets you draw cards. So, and lets you empty out your soul. So, I think this card's very, very good. 4, I think, is a little overkill. 3, a lot. 3, sometimes you just end up being unlucky and you just, draw 1 on opening hand, damage 1, you have 1 left in deck. Sometimes you just end up drawing the last one anyway. So, sometimes you wish you had 4, but for the majority of the time, I do think 3 is enough. And finally, a card that's very unconventional that I didn't think I'd see myself playing, but after I saw a few people on JP play it, so I decided to try it myself, and I ended up really liking it, is the Arianod. This card came out in like set 1 shadows, or I guess set 4. But the skill is rest itself, discard a card, draw 1. So basically why I think this card is good is because sometimes you just need to fill up that 1 extra ritual cast hunt for Ogma. Sometimes you're just at like ritual 4. You need 1 more, you don't want to overcall something. This card can let you just discard like a Morfessa in hand, which you couldn't stack off anyways, but still counts as ritual count and drop once you discard it. So you don't have to overcall something, you don't like go next to do it. Resting it doesn't matter because you're going to stack it off anyways for the most part. And this card early game can also help you just filter excess grade 1s into your drop zone so that you can turbo ritual count. You can use it to dig for Luard so you don't have to search with the owl. You can use it to toss out the extra crits for actual playables early in the game. I think this card is really flexible in like almost every spot of the game, so I do think this card is actually better than the Strat Fodder for the most part. So that is why I personally choose to play 2 of the Arianod in this last 2 Grade 1 slots. So that's it for Grade 1. Grade 2s, we are playing 4 Morfessa, GB3 when attacks the Vanguard, GB1 Ritual 3 when attacks the Vanguard, it gets +5, so 14 hacker. Scales with any 7k to 21, and then GB1 Ritual 3. This unit's attack hits a Vanguard, CB1, call any grade 1 from your deck. This skill basically never comes up, it's just kind of there. But the main reason we play this card is for the drop zone effect. Drop zone, this card counts as grade -1 in your counts as grade -1. So in your drop zone, it counts as a grade 1. So Extra ritual count is always nice, and that is why we play 4 of it. Next up, we are playing 2 Leah Falls. So his skill is GB1 once per turn. Soul Blast 1, retire any rear in the same columns that you draw 1, and then Ritual 3, and soon attacks Van plus 2k. So 11k attacker, can Soul Blast, can get your extra soul attack. Sometimes you just whiff all your Sword Breakers. This card lets you use the extra soul you couldn't use from the Sword Breakers to draw, which is pretty nice. Lets you get your owls in, drop without having to overhaul them. And being a soul attacker was nice too. 2 of just because I didn't really know what else to play in the slot. Before, at one point I was playing the 15 Intercept, but just from playing, I found that the 15 was not enough for the most part to be an annoyance to the opponent, because 15 just means they have to boost, as opposed to this 18 Intercept, which makes it where even if they do boost, they probably still can't hit if it's a grade 1, grade 2 column, a standard grade 1, grade 2 column. So this card's skill is just GB1, during your opponent's turn plus 10k, so 18k Intercept. And the reason why this card is so good, in my opinion, for this deck is because this deck plays a lot of back row control with Ogma, and if they're constantly getting their back row controlled by Ogma, they are going to struggle to hit into this card. Obviously, decks like Kagero can just retire it, and that matchup this card's pretty bad. But I think there are enough matchups where this card is really, really good, i.e. like Royals, Golds, even Neonectar sometimes. Like decks that can't actually retire your rears, this card is an absolute MVP for the deck, just because of the fact that your opponent has to either overcommit or they just straight up have to run Van into this thing just to kill your intercepts. If you have 2 of these up, they are absolutely going to struggle to get rid of them. They can't retire them from effects. So I think just because of that and how this deck plays, I think this card is absolutely like a pseudo win con for this deck now. 18k intercepts. So yeah, that's why we play 4 of it. And finally, 3 in the mains. On play CB1, discard a card, draw 2. So in the main, just helps you cycle early, lets you dig for stuff early, helps dig for stuff late. I like to see this card quite a bit. I like this card usually at least once a game, so that's why I personally choose to play 3 of it. And onwards to triggers, heal guards, no reason not to play these. The Crit Owl, grade 0, drop zone, ritual 3. At the end of your turn, if your Vanguard is a Luard, it goes back to bottom of the deck, and then if your Vanguard is a Luard and is retired, if this card is retired for the cost of a Vanguard Luard's effect, draw 1. So even with 10, you sack it off for cost, you still have to draw 1, so it's really cool. So and this card does again the game plan of what Zero Damage was doing, where they stack much at the bottom. It can still apply here, because you can still keep track of your stack. If you just don't use your stride bonus, you can get to your stack and just ram like crit to, and get like a 4 crit van or something like that. So this card's still really good in order not to play it. 1 Ileana, ritual GB1, ritual 3. This skill is irrelevant. I think this thing hits a van, sack 2, draw 2, gets plus 3. This card, this effect is not irrelevant. You play it for the second effect on play, Soul Blast 1, CB1. Check top 5 for a card with ritual keyword in it and add it to hand. The reason why this is good is because this card can help you potentially fix ride. If you draw into this, you can check top 5 to maybe find a Luard off the deck. The Luard does have ritual in its effect, so just because of that, this card is like a pseudo ride fixer for this deck. So that's why I personally choose to play this as my 1-of. Realistically speaking, I don't think this 1-of matters at all for the most part, but I do think the Ileana is probably most useful. And finally, for Luard, Ritual 3 at the start of your ride phase, you can put 2 cards without triggers from draft back to bottom of your deck, and during this turn you can stride for free. And then when a unit strides on top of it, CB1 retire one of your rears to call 2 grade 1s or lowers from drop, from deck, and on play plus 3k. So free stride, very nice, turns all your strides into a +1. This turns any card on your board into a +1. So very resource. What's the word I'm looking for? Very pluses a lot. It pluses a lot. This card pluses quite a bit. Very, very good. This card is like the crux of your game plan because of how much you plus every turn. If you literally just use the Luard skill to stride and then use the strap bonus, that's just already a +2. Swordbreaker turns into a +3. Double Swordbreaker is a +4. So that's really good. Something to note though for the stride for this skill: if you're going first and you ride Luard on your first grade 3 turn, you can't stride for free on the next turn because obviously you're going first. You can't stride on first grade 3 turn. So if you have once you're on the next turn, if you have Ritual 3, you can stride for free. But if you're going second, you cannot stride for free, even if you have Ritual 3, because it's at the start of your ride phase, and the start of the ride phase has passed once you rode the card because it's no longer the start of the ride phase. So if you're going second, you have no way to stride for free. You have to pay for cost to stride on your first ride if you're going second. But if you're going first and you can fill up Ritual 3, you can stride for free. So just something to note with this card. And I guess we'll go into the G zone now. First off, we have 2 Aura Geysers. Once you attack the van, CV1, G flip, retire 2 of your rears, check top 2, add to hand, and then it gets plus 5k per grade 1 or lower for your reveals from among them. So this card just converts board to hand, really nice, usually your first ride. And yeah, not much else to say about it, just a really solid first ride that pluses you. Technically it's not a plus, but it does change the garbage from your board into cards to hand, which is really nice. You can proc all your on retire effects, being your owls. You draw an extra card with crit. You can CC with the grade 1 owl, so it's pretty good there. Next up, 2 Phantom Blaster Diablos. This is usually your main win con. Once per turn, GB2, CB1, G flip for 10k and a crit, and then you can sack 3 if they have 2 or less rears. 2 or less rears when swinging, you get Glory Guard Restrict. You have not retired 2 rears, so this card, Guard Restrict is definitely really nice because after you Ogma them for their board, they're probably really low on hand, really low on board, so they're probably going to be pretty susceptible to Ogma's Guard Restrict. So let's pick that. I think this card's definitely your main finisher. Wish I had space for an extra pair, but I think having variety in the G-Zone matters a little bit more. 1 Spectral Blaster. I don't go into this too often, but it is there for another finisher. Flip anything in your G-Zone face up, and retire 1 of your readers that gain the following ability. GB3 once per turn. At the end of battle, this unit attack the van. CB2, retire 2 of your rears. To stand this unit, draw 1 against -2 drive, and if you have another copy of it face up in your G-Zone, you get plus a crit. And then the other effect doesn't matter because your Vanguard's never a Diablo, and the crit effect doesn't matter either because I'm only playing 1 of it. So just because of the timing of the crit, because it's after the restand, it's not on the restand, I don't think the second copy is particularly needed. Rarely ever will I ever have the CB to go into this twice. So just because I think 1 in this card is perfectly enough. It's just there when you know you can get two giant PG checks in, either because you're at your crit stack, or there are at 5 and you just rail face twice. So Spectral pretty good. 1 Carnivore Dragon, once per turn, retire 1 of your rears to retire 1 of your opponent's rear guards with priority to back row. If you cannot retire, your opponent gets plus 4k. This card comes up basically when you just don't have the CB to use Strike Bonus and Aura Geyser. So it doesn't come up too often, but this card is nice to have just as a free option. Honest, and if your opponent CB chokes you and you have an owl with this, you can just sack off the owl to refund the 1 CB, and then you can save that CB for later. So I think this card is not amazing, but I think 1 of it is very, very nice for the G-Zone. Doesn't come up every game, but it comes up often enough that you want the 1. At worst, it is flip fodder for either Ogma or Spectral Blaster. So even if you don't do anything, it is at worst flip fodder, so it's not the worst thing in the world to run. Next up, we have 4 Drag Drivers. Ritual 3 on play, flip anything in your G-Zone face up, and then call a grade 1 from your deck for every face up copy of itself in your G-Zone. And then those grade 1s get plus 1k per grade 1 in your drop zone. And then GB3, once per turn, return 2 cards without triggers with your drop back to the bottom of your deck, and retire 1 of your readers with Ritual keyword in it to get a crit. So lets you recycle more cards as you get a crit, which is really, really nice. But this card is mainly here just set up for an Ogma turn sometimes, and this card really shines in retire heavy matchups where they constantly get rid of your back row, so you can't pay for a strike cost, or can't use strike bonus a lot. So this card lets you fill up your back row. You can call 1, stack it off, get 2 more. So just with that, I think this card is pretty nice to have. I do think you probably don't need 4. I think 3 is perfectly serviceable enough. I personally only have 3 in global, and I've been getting away with it perfectly fine. But I have 4 on JP, so obviously I'm going to use all 4. I think the 4th one does come up sometimes. Very, very fringe cases will ever come up, but if you have the 4, I think you should be playing the 4. Otherwise, I think 3 is perfectly serviceable. And finally, for the last slot, we have the main win con of the deck, the Ogma. Once return CB1, flip anything in your G-Zone face up, and retire any number of your grade 1 rear guards. And for every 1 card you retire, you retire 1 of your opponent's cards with priority to back row. And then if you retired a total of 3 or more, you draw 1. If you retired a 5 or more, draw an extra 1. So if you stack off your entire board, you get to draw 2, no matter, even if you can't retire any of your opponent's cards. And then for every 1 card your opponent could not retire, compared to the amount of cards you retired, they discard 1 card from the hand at the start of the turn. So I've explained this many times, especially in the 0 damage video, but basically, let's just say you stack off 5, and your opponent only has 3 rear guards on board. You pop the 3, and then at the start of the turn, they discard 2, because you stacked off 5, they can only pop 3. Difference there is 2, they discard 2. Anti-retires count towards the retired count, so let's say their board was, let's say you stacked 5, and their board was 3, and 1 was a anti-retire booster in the back row, let's say. You pop, technically that still counts as a game, popping 3, the anti-retire just didn't die, so you'll still discard 2. But for example, if that anti-retire was a resist instead, so the board was 2 retirables and 1 resist. They discard 3 because the resist technically wasn't. Basically, you just treat the resist as it wasn't on the board to begin with. So in that example, if you stacked out 5 and they have 3 cards, one of which being resist, you pop the 2, and then at the start of their turn, they discard 3 cards from their hand. So this card's your win con because it back row controls, it can hand control, and this in conjunction with your 18k intercepts is very, very powerful. So I'll go and sell your win con, but I think 2 is perfectly enough because you'll realistically never have the grade 1s for the 3rd one. So yeah, so that's it for this deck profile. I know a bunch of people have been asking me what does the deck look like post 0 damage nerf, and here it is. So yeah, I'll have some games for you guys after this as per usual. Tell me what you think about this deck down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Alright, so I know a lot of people want some commentary to go along with the gameplay, so I'm too lazy to figure out, or rather, I'm too lazy to split the VOD with the music I play on my stream, so I'll just do some post-game commentary instead, see how this goes. If you guys like this, let me know, and I'll see if I want to do any more in the future, but this is a lot of extra work for me. I have to have to rewatch all my VODs, so I guess whatever, so I guess we'll just try it out for now and see how it goes. So, first game, we're playing against Enigmans. If I remember correctly, so guys playing Enigmans. I legit had no idea what this deck did because I did not read any of the new DP cards. So we see our opening hand here, pretty good. I'm pretty sure I'll just toss the script back. Yeah, figured. Just toss the script back. That's pretty good. You ride the Swordbreaker, ride the Morfesso, and you have the extra Luard for strike cost because I am going second. So this guy does his thing, he rides his whatever. I think he wrote a PG here, I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure he wrote a PG off of this, so taking quite a while. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is the new Enigman PG, it is. I went to check because I had no idea what this card was. And some simple pass, ride pass. Yeah, so I draw the Argonaut here too, but Argonaut is actually pretty useful for like later in the game. I don't see a really reason to ride it. See, I already call it down just to toss an extra card to start filtering, because 2 many extra grade 3s, and I found a Swordbreaker off of it, which kind of sucks, because I would have drive checked it to the bottom. But it is whatever, because by doing that, I did drive a PG to the bottom, meaning the PG does not get damaged. But this also means I can just filter the Swordbreaker out next turn to get more ritual count, to make it easier for my drop zone later on. So there's that. I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit on some of this because some of this is just ride passing. So I guess it's the good thing about post game commentary instead is you skip past all this stuff. So my opponent just does some Enigma stuff. I have no idea what any of this stuff does. Pushes the starter to the front. I don't even know what the starter does, but I'm pretty sure I drew in a main and killed it anyways, because if it's a starter, it's probably useful. Yeah, so ride Morfesso. Morfesso is realistically your ideal ride, because your other cards you want all of them to be on rear. So Morfesso being the ideal ride. I called the Swordbreaker, called the other Morfesso. Used the Swordbreaker just to kill the thing off, so I guess I didn't draw in main. Swing ban first to play for heal, because I saw it. No heal, unfortunate, but do get to push to 3 here. My opponent rides the grade 3. Again, I have no idea what the card does. I think he tried to do some lore stuff here. It's pretty cool, I guess. But he had to bomb it out entire hand to do this. So that's because of that. Lore, he is very susceptible to just getting augmented in the next few turns. I don't really care my grade 1 dies here because, again, more grade 1s to drop means more ritual count. But apparently this card gives a bajillion power to a rear, so I still got hit anyways. And again, like I said, I have no idea any of these cards do, so excuse my my lack of knowledge of these cards that are probably really, really bad. I'd assume I prefer right here probably Orgeyser. I do have the CB for it, I'd assume. Yeah, Orgeyser. Toss the 3 in my hand. I assume I sack off probably the grade 0 and call like a Swordbreaker and something else, or 2 Swordbreaker. Yeah, Swordbreaker and something else. I think I wrote a Swordbreaker too. This is pretty standard. It's a pretty standard first try turn. Yeah, Swordbreaker, Owl. Yeah, I can use the Owl to CC this turn to CC one of the CB from the Orgeyser back. Soul Blast. I remember when you Soul Blast, you always want to Soul Blast the grade 1s out to get more ritual count. In this case, it didn't matter which one I Soul Blasted out because Morfesso would have also counted as a grade 1 in my drop zone. But in this case, I Soul Blasted grade 1 out just because I might want the Swordbreaker back into my deck later on my next turn. This probably toss. Nope. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I thought about tossing out the crit here, but I realized I needed a booster on both sides because these are 8Ks. So that's why I didn't end up filtering. And again, no reason no reason to like overcall a card just to get an extra drop the owl here. I can always do that next turn, so that's why I just go into battle here. Just go rear to rear, rear to rear, and then sack off 2 grade 1s to use the Orgeyser skill to effectively draw 2 cards back. So doesn't really matter which ones I sack off. Yeah, as long as I sack off the owl to CC1 back, and then whatever for the other one. I don't think Enigmas have retire, so having just 1 back row is fine because that means I have the 1 I need for next turn to use stride bonus again. So it's a blank, and I think another third blank. Third blank. That is fine. My opponent goes to 4. Well, I'll have to deal with double 18k intercepts on the next turn. I think he does though by flipping 3 triggers. Again, he goes into the new GR. I actually don't remember what this card does. I think it, like if you hit power threshold, you get to restand something. So that's pretty cool, I guess. So he goes van to rear. I think he flipped like 3 triggers here. I think it's like 3 triggers. Gave like 2 triggers, 1 to rear, 1 to van, and then he gets to restand. You just rest the rest of these cards to restand the van. He gets to run the 18 to 18 now, and I think he hit the 1 trigger to hit the power threshold he needed to restand this rear to hit me. Hit me to push the 5. Yeah, so there's the trigger. Hits the power threshold. I think the power threshold here is 40k, so I had no defensive, so he gets to draw 1, and then 40k for the threshold, and he gets to restand this rear. That gets hit me now. I get pushed to 5. Lose a crit, unfortunate. You don't want these crits in your damage, but don't exactly have control over that, fortunately. So I think this turn I went for Ogma, I'd assume. I don't see a reason why I wouldn't go for Ogma here. I have Ritual 5. But I can turn 2 because once I stride into something, I can use the Luard stride bonus to slack off this grade 1 that puts me back to Ritual 4. And then when I Soul Blast out the Morfessa with the Swordbreaker, I go back to Ritual 5. So I will have exactly enough for that. So here's the Ogma. I don't know why I'm debating so hard, but yeah, Ogma. No need to pay cost of stride. Oh, I guess I didn't go for Ogma. I guess this also works. I forgot I didn't go for Ogma here. I guess I went for. I went for Phantom Blaster because Phantom Blaster also controls the board, but at the same time, since the 3 cards you drew were all off draw triggers, I think I just figured that he'd probably just die here to the crit. So, and I'm pretty sure he did. So, I guess present me did not see the line, but past me did, and that's the important part. And I'm pretty sure I won on this turn. Yeah. So Spectral Phantom Blaster for the crit here. And then I assume I'd probably call the 18, call the Morfessa, call the crit, sack off my back row, retire 2 of his cards, and get a giant crit bang to face. Yeah, so yeah, I sacked my back row, popped the lore, popped the other red 1, draw a card off the owl. Okay, it's in situations like this where hypothetically, if my opponent lived, I wouldn't have Ogma for follow-up. In a situation like this, your next card would probably end up being Drag Driver. I'd probably end up rewriting the Drag Driver for an extra soul. Rewrite the Luard from my hand for the extra soul. Then go into Drag Driver, put a Swordbreaker back, call one of the Swordbreakers off of the Luard stride bonus, draw a card, and sack it off for more grade 1s. So yeah, that's probably what I would have done if he lived this turn. But obviously he died. So there goes that. There goes the first game. And then the second game, I played against the Royals. I did go first. So that sucks there. What was my mulligan? So yeah, owl back. Pretty nice. Now going first with Luard is obviously not favorable. You'd obviously rather go second, but going first does have the advantage of if you can fill your drop zone up for Ritual 3, you do get to try for free on your first ride, so that's pretty nice. But filling Ritual 3 up on first ride is still quite a task that's not relatively easy to do. Yeah, Arianaud, I'll probably dump the crit here to try to filter for something better. And I draw into another Luard. That would have damage checked me into a draw. That's kind of unfortunate. But that Luard is at worst stride fodder for my first ride, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Opponent, I don't know why my opponent put the starter behind Van. Altmile needs all the boosters it can get, especially in a matchup where your backer can actually get retired. So I don't know what this guy was doing. Slams down another grade 1 trying to aggro me. I don't remember if he searched the Altmile or not, but I assume he did if he's thinking I think this long. Dumps the grade 3, searches the Altmile. I do think I hit a defensive here. I do think he blanked. So, pretty nice there. So I guess drawing into the thing didn't matter. I would have hit defensive anyways. And he did blank, so he did get punished for playing super aggressively. Another crit. Kind of sucks. Unfortunately, I have to ride the AK here because I do want to just use it in the main. So that kind of sucks that I had to ride the AK. The AK does make a difference in this matchup. It does force them to either give stride bonus power to a front row or boost a column to hit into it. So kind of sucks that I had to ride it. The reason I put the main here is because I wanted to. I'm pretty sure I promoted up the Aria nod because I don't think I used it. I pushed it up just to kill off his booster. Because alt mod is a matchup where you don't want them having boosters if you can help it. So I'm pretty sure that's what I did. I called down the crit behind the main. Oh, I guess I did it. Filter, drew a PG. So I'm assuming I just called the crit. And yeah, I probably did this just to kill the crit. So yeah, I guess I didn't do that. I just railed the left column into the booster because I didn't want to deal with it because I wasn't scaling anyways, or scaling comfortably. So killing booster is definitely very good against alt miles. So definitely we'll just take a slower here. I think my opponent decided to play aggro again. I'm pretty sure. If I remember correctly, I think he called down another grade 1. I think he called down like grade 1, grade 2. Try to push. And I'm pretty sure this was the turn where I slammed the Aria Knight up to the front to kill off his booster. Yeah, so he called the grade 1. I'm pretty sure next turn I just pushed the Aria Knight up to kill off his booster. And no defensive here, unfortunate. So I do get pushed to 3. No trigger from him. Do get a drawback here on intercept, which is always really nice. And I'm pretty sure this turn, with this hand, I just rode the Luard, pushed the Aria Knight up, and then called the Leah Fall in front of the Owl. Oh, yeah, that was definitely not what I meant to call there. I kill that off. Push for 1 damage. Not pushing for a bunch of damage also means you lower the chance of checking defensive draw. Especially with this guy's hand being basically nothing. He just threw all of it out really early. Killed off with all his boosters, and I think he went for Luminous Hope here because he is in Brave. Yeah, so he goes into Luminous Hope. Speaking of Luminous Hope, I'll probably do a video for Alt Mal soon. I just haven't really thought too much about the deck. I've tried around with it, but I think I'm still relatively unhappy with the list, so I'll probably do that at some point once I actually figure out a list I actually like. No boosters for him, and this is exactly why I don't think he should have slammed all those boosters down early. He could have at least 1 booster here, but I'm pretty sure he does use the Benizil to call a Selim here for at least 1 booster to extend with, but definitely could have avoided using the CB on that if he just didn't try to aggro me with all his grade 1s. Yeah, he does do that, and he does get to push here. For those wondering, what the Luminous Hope does is a Brave, when student attacks, if you're in Brave, you can call any grade 2 from deck. So you can use it as a first ride to push, like similarly to Godblade, and or use it as a finisher like Tengen, but so it doesn't cost any CP. And he used the starter, which I don't know why, because you would think against Luard you want to keep your anti-tower on the board, and he was already in Brave, so he didn't need to use a starter to proc Brave anyways, so I have no idea why he used the starter, but I guess he used it just to draw a card. Yeah, he does his stuff, pushes me to 5, gets a guard check off of me. I think he checked 2 draws to get 2 cards back into his hand. Very skilled player here. Crit. Don't have the ritual count to stride for free, so I will just toss the Luard to stride. I go for Carnivore here because I think I had enough ways to try just drawing to intercepts. I get to sack the Owl off for 1 draw. I get to toss 2 Swordbreakers for 2 more draws, try to find 2 intercepts. The draw for stride. But because this man didn't have a booster in his hand last turn, I think I just killed the booster off because I really wanted to just not let him have boosters to extend his aggro with. So I'm pretty sure that's what I went for here. I'm definitely thinking about it, and I think I did just end up going to Carnivore, yeah. So toss the Luard to stride, go into Carnivore. Sack off the Owl to call what's probably going to be 2 Swordbreakers. Yeah, 2 Swordbreakers, draw 2 more cards. So I did draw the 18 off of the stride. And then 3 more draws to try to find 1 intercept. And found that crit intercept, so definitely we'll have at least that 1 intercept this turn. Soul Blast out everything, get an extra grade 1 and drop. Ritual count for next turn. Drew an extra PG too, so I'm definitely fine now. Because I now have 4 guards in hand against the Alt Mal, and unless I double crit him, which I'm pretty sure I did not, 4 guards should be more than enough to survive everything. So I think in the interest of saving cards here, I just sacked up 1 of the grade 1s, but I don't remember if I called the Owl to sack up for an extra draw or not. So let's see what I did here. I guess I did just call the Owl to sack up for an extra draw here. I guess it lets me put the owl back, which is definitely nice. I always want these in your deck. Pop the booster, lets me draw an extra card, draw an extra intercept, which is really nice. And then I just called like the 18 and called the Morfessa and called it a day. Just called over the Swordbreaker. Yeah. And then just go. I think I did rip 1 crit here, so I did push him to 4. My initial game plan was definitely just CB choke him with 1 damage, but I did rip a crit. But I don't think at the end, I don't think it matters. I think I'm definitely sure I still survived the turn. But here my thought process here was definitely just I'll pop his booster, control his board, and just give him the 1 damage, and so I will definitely not die in the following turn. But as you can see here, I did rip the crit to give him 2 CB, unfortunately. But other than that, it didn't matter. So it still worked out. And you got to draw off of this. I think his second damage was a PG too, so I guess the crit did work out. He lost 1 more guard, which is really nice. And then as you can see, I have all 4 owls in my drops, and they all go back. So I have a deck soon that'll be like half of which being all crits. So definitely very good there. Let's fast forward to my opponent's turn. I think he just went for Tengen here, I think. Yeah, went for Tengen, had 1 booster in hand. Does simple Tengen stuff. I obviously did have all the guards needed for this. Man hit a bunch of triggers. That's to nobody's surprise. That's a very, very skilled player. The Benizol hits only for a heal guard. Vanguard hits for PG. The right column hits for a PG. So I'll end the turn here with 1 PG left in hand. And this is without a doubt a Ogma turn. This man is low on board. If I just Ogma him for his entire board, he loses the booster. Has to discard 2 at the start of his turn. Assuming I can make 2 columns at scale, I'll knock 2 cards out of his hand as guards. And then at the start of his turn, he ditches the last 2 cards in hand, and he starts his turn off with 1 card. And that was definitely the game plan I was going for. I think that's what ended up happening here. So put 2 Great 2s back to keep the ritual count in my drop zone. Go into the Ogma, try for free. No need to pay cost for anything. Sack off the grade 0 for 2 more grade 1s of some sort. Realistic speaking, it probably doesn't matter what grade 1s I called off of this. Use this, sack the 0 off, because you cannot sack 0s off for Ogma. Call Arianaud an owl. And I tell you, I think here is where the Arianaud showed off why I think is a good card. As I'm pretty sure here I was actually only at Ritual 4, I was 1 off. But as you can see, I have 2, I have a grade 1 and 2 more Fesses in hand, right? So I can call the grade 1 down to fill in the last slot for the 5th cost for Ogma. But I can also rest the Arianaud to toss one of the more Fesses to get the Ritual 5 that I need without having to overcall a card and lose a card out of my hand for just to fulfill Ritual count here. Yeah, so I was at Ritual 4, so toss the Morfessa to get the extra ritual count, and as you can see, I have an extra Arianaud here, so if I really needed if I was only Ritual 3, I needed 1 more ritual count, I could have done it again, tossing the other Morfessa in my hand. Yeah, Ogma for 5. Yeah, Drag Driver is usually your flip fodder for this, because usually if you want, your first Drag Driver stride, you usually want to calling at least 2 cards, and Drag Driver only flips 1, so if you Ogma turn before, you flip a Driver, next turn, let's say you try Driver, you flip another Driver from G-Zone, you'd be calling 2 off of it. So Driver is usually your flip fodder for the Ogma. If you only have 3, you usually only flip 1 with something else. Usually you go like flip 1, go into 1, and then that Driver you flip something else, so you can conserve the third Ogma for something else. But if you have 4, you can just flip them up very sparingly, because you have 4 to play with. So now you can see here, Ogma for 5. His board dies. I draw 2. I think here, I also going to show off the Leafall here, because you see I have no boosters in my hand. I think I just called the, I think I used in the main first, tossing the extra in the main, and then I think I Leafalled off this in the main to draw extra cards. So drew 2 heal guards. So again, I would have healed here, but 2 heal guards here is also fine, because this main will have no resources to play with next turn. And I think I Leafalled off the main, and I found a booster off of this, I think. I found a crit, which is good enough. It makes it 12, because I definitely have crits left on my deck. I have 3 crits in a 6-card deck. I'm basically guaranteed to flip at least 1. And Leafall is a solo attacker, because I have Ritual 3. So as long as he hits no defensives, this is guaranteed to hit. Or pretty much guaranteed, yeah. There's a crit, so the right side is going to hit too. Or the left side, sorry. The left side, 2 crits. Doesn't really matter, but it hits now. Both columns hit. He loses 2 cards out of his hand. PG from that, heal guard from this. And then at the start of his turn, he loses the rest of his hand, and he plays with 1 card in hand per turn. 1 card in hand, dealing with an 18k intercept, and has to be stride forward if he wants to even stride. So definitely in a very, very advantageous spot here. It ditches a Twin Sword and a PG, goes straight past his main phase, and cannot stride here. Just swings. Hits a draw. Alright, I'm gonna pause the video now. Let me know down below in the comments what you think he top decked into. I'll tell you at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, but take a wild guess what this man top decked. Okay, so he hits the trigger to kill the 18. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. I just go for game here Spectral with a Spectral Blaster because this man does not have the board to block the guard restrict, nor does it have the hand to actually take the guard restrict. So just put 2 guards here, stride for free. Yeah. Oh, I guess I went for Drag Driver here instead. I guess it doesn't matter, realistically speaking. I think it was because I was scared of deck out because I wanted the actual card on the board. So I think that's why I went for Drag Driver instead. Yeah, I thought I went for Phantom Blast here, but I think here I realized that to get the board to use Phantom Blaster, I would need to sack off the Owl for Stride bonus to call 2 more cards out of the deck. The Owl would draw me a 1, and I drew any more Owls, and I wanted to use that as cost, it would draw me another 1. So I think I was too scared of deck out, and realistically speaking, I just needed something to hit his face twice, and you don't just want to intercept. So I think that's why I just played it safe here to make sure I wouldn't deck out. Drag Driver, call 2 Owls. Because at this point, my deck is 3 crits in a 4-card deck, so I will not deck out here no matter what happens. Drag Driver also puts 2 cards back to the bottom of my deck, so that definitely means I will not deck out. So I'll put two whatevers back in the bottom of my deck. I think it's second this out. I didn't want to like draw into another crit here. Yeah, CC here, and then it's call 2 and go face 2 intercepts. And as you can see here, I railed rear into face first, and when you look at that, the man top decked the PG off the draw trigger. What a skilled player, right? But obviously it doesn't matter here. This man has maximum 2 heals left, and I am guaranteed at least 1 extra crit here. So this man is eating a, I think ended up being like a 4 crit Drag Driver to the face. Yeah, 4 crit Drag Driver with 2 heals left in the deck. This man was guaranteed dead here. And look, this man even 6 healed, but obviously it doesn't matter. He scooped it up, and that's the game. So as you can see, this deck is pretty good in what it can do. It's very good at doing board control. Good at doing board control. It can it pluses a lot, and yeah, just the overall very solid deck. And well, I definitely think it takes a bit of practice to get used to. It definitely is a little more different compared to most decks. But yeah, so I guess for the second time, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.